Okay, it's 5:30. I call the monthly meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. Roll call. Everyone is here and present. Next, we'll have public comment. If there's somebody here from the public that wishes to make a comment regarding anything on our agenda or city business, now is the time to do so. We have a microphone up here at the front table, so everybody can hear you, and if there's anybody on the internet, they can hear. Anybody care to? Yes, ma'am, in the back, if you'd come up and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, I hope this is loud enough. I'm Amber Doggs. I reside at 108 Riverview Drive. I'm very grateful for CA for News, or I would have not known that this evening Riverview Drive was on the agenda for this evening. I see that there is a request for no parking on a specific side of Riverview Drive, but I would also like to add, it would be great if we could also get a no parking sign on the side of Core Treatment Center as well. I've made multiple conversations with city staff as well as the police department about vehicles parking on the wrong side of the street repetitively over the last several years, especially as staff from Core Treatment Center choose to park overnight on the wrong side of the street. Also, in the morning when staff are parked at Freighter or going to work at Freighter, there are staff members from Core parked on the wrong side of the street. So often there's only one lane of traffic to actually drive through, and you can't always see people crossing the sidewalk to go to work at Holy Family, or vice versa, vehicles trying to come down from Meadow Lane onto Riverview Drive. So there's not just an issue of making no parking on one side of the street, but also additional signage where there is already no parking necessary, specifically directly in front of Core Treatment Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, yes, sir, in the yellow shirt.
Hi, my name is Brian Seiler. I live at 2112 Summit Street. Over the past maybe 15 years, there have been at least 3 car accidents on 22nd and Summit. The last one was actually a rollover. People just seem to fly through there. Now, that area, it's just a 2-city block, both directions, but they just come flying through. Wondering if maybe somebody could put a yield sign or stop sign in that particular area.
Oh, we don't have give and take, but I did see that on the agenda, I believe, and there was somebody filled out some paperwork. I know we just passed that, I think maybe 2 months ago, as far as if you want a stop sign, a yield sign, something to do with pedestrian crossing anywhere. We tried to do it, whatever your request is, you could go on the internet, fill out the paperwork, and then submit it, and then it would go through the process of review.
And I did that.
Yes. So it is on our agenda tonight along with that, and we'll also hear from the city engineer and their thoughts along with the police and what have you. So it is on the agenda, and we'll be taking that up.
All right. Thank you very much, Don.
Well, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi there. I'm Eric Walsdorf, and we live at 3414 Meadow Lane. And tonight it was brought up that they're talking about no parking on the northeast section of Lindbergh and Meadow Lane, which is right in front of my house. I guess I'm here because I don't understand the reason why that they want to do it. I mean, I'm not sure what the problem is and what it's going to solve, but I've been a law-abiding citizen, lived there for 29 years, paid our taxes, and now I'm feeling violated or discriminated if they're going to try and take my parking away, because I don't park on there a lot, but I do at times to use it. And I guess I don't know what, it's a regular, it's a not a busy road, Lindbergh. 35th and Meadow, yes. But Lindbergh is a quiet neighborhood, and I don't see what the need is because you should be able to go, it's a two-way street, parking on both sides. And by having no parking there, to me, it's gonna give aid to the reckless people, they're gonna drive faster. Because at times, yes, there are people that drive reckless and fast. I've never seen an accident there because of that. I've seen an accident on Lindbergh when the guy was going south, he missed a curve and went up on the front lawn. So no matter what, that was not gonna cure anything. And to me, if you're talking about, you can visibly see the intersection good if you come up, if you're going south on Lindbergh, come up to the stop sign, nobody ever parks up to the crosswalks, and I don't see what you're gonna gain by having a no parking in that position. Can you guys comment on that before this, or does it have to go into your discussion later?
It'll go into our discussion later. So if you want to stay around, I may give you the opportunity after hearing our discussion. I probably will call upon you because a lot of times what happens is while we have public input, sometimes we hold the public input for specific items on, until that item comes up on our agenda.
Sure.
I'm going to admit to screwing up a little bit, but I'm going to correct for that by, when we do bring it up, I will find out if there's anybody that wants to speak specifically to that item, and then they will also have the ability to hear perhaps some of the conversation we've had. So I want to apologize, but it actually works out good. Now you can speak here on any item, including items on our agenda, and when it comes up, I will once again give the audience the opportunity to speak on that, and I figure,
Okay.
and I appreciate you coming because we try to garner as much information from both sides before we make a decision, so.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Name's Joe Sumbers. I live right next to the Eric, 3417 Lindbergh Drive, regarding the no parking on the east side. I've been there 30-plus years. I have never had to see an accident, not that I'm aware of. We park on that corner, and when we don't park there, them cars go faster. That's just the way it is. They don't slow down. And even when there's a car parked there and across the street, you get certain people, they don't stop. You know, to me, taking away the parking area isn't gonna solve it. You need to come up with a different solution, or, you know, that's my opinion on it.
Sure. Thank you for your information.
All right.
Anyone else care to speak on public input? Whether it's on the agenda, and you may even get another chance to speak on that later, or something that isn't even on the agenda. You got a problem with the city, you know, I mean, it's going once, public input going twice, not hearing anything, it goes 3 times. I will now call public input closed. Consent agenda. Does anybody want anything on the consent agenda pulled to be worked on individually? Not hearing anything, I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda as is.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We've got an approved agenda. First item on the agenda is item 26-0716. That's not the right area. I gotta go down a area. Darn computer. It's 26-0721. It's the request to prohibit parking on the west side of Riverview Drive from Meadow Lane north to the Holy Family Memorial driveway, and on the north side of Meadow Lane from Riverview Drive west to the Holy Family Memorial driveway. Discussion, or,
I'm gonna be talking about it, but because I'm a Holy Family employee, I'll be talking from down there.
sure. My understanding is you're recusing yourself from the vote and whatever, so you can talk on it, but you won't vote on it.
That is correct.
Thank you.
For item 2701, I'm here on behalf of Holy Family and Eric Brown. He is our Director of Plant Operations Department for Holy Family Memorial. I am a maintenance mechanic, been there for about 7 years. This issue has to do with Meadow Lane and Riverview Drive. The corner there, if you see it, I think it's one of the pictures that you have there. The overview is a highlights where Meadow Lane turns into Riverview Drive. There is a total of 6 parking spaces there. Holy Family would like to have permanent parking, no parking there, because the semis, they can't go through that neighborhood, so they have to come down Meadow Lane, pull onto Riverside Drive, and then back in to the loading dock. It's right in front of the core building, which already has no parking. Part of the overview, if you walk directly, a lot of the employees will walk directly across the corner of Meadow and Riverview into the parking lot. There is no parking already in place. Eric Brown from Holy Family is just looking to have that expanded. Going on Riverview Drive, there would be a total of 4 parking spaces. On Meadow Lane, there would be only 2 parking spaces. I took some pictures earlier, talked with City Attorney Eric. Let me look at my notes here. The photo number 4 is of the Riverview lot. I took those earlier today. There was only a total of 6 parking spaces from Riverview and Meadow Lane. As you can see, I mean, this is just one corner. I could have walked around the entire parking lot, but that's just one corner lot. There's more than enough adequate parking. And then Holy Family also has the 21st Street lot with the skywalk. There's more than enough parking. But we've had several close calls with semi trucks backing up. Picture number 8 is what I really wanted the committee to look at. There's a picture of an 18-wheeler, 53-foot semi-trailer trying to back into our loading dock, and then number 7 shows he's got to watch out for vehicles. There's a utility pole right there at the corner. So that's really tight corners. I've been here 7 years. They've had a lot of close calls. Thankfully, there's been no accidents. Holy Family, we've suffered a 700-ton chiller failure. We got a temporary chiller trailer that's parked on a loading dock, which makes a bad situation even tighter. That's all I have if you have any questions.
Any questions from committee members?
Sorry. This microphone system's a little louder than the old one. I don't necessarily have any questions as far as the request. I think, by looking at it with all the documentation, I agree there's adequate parking in the parking lot with it. The one thing, and I'm glad Amber was here as well and spoke on the public comment, how does that affect the core building? If let's say we'd say, yeah, let's go with the no parking in that area, how does that then affect the core building, since that's all right in front of there as well?
A lot of the, Core is not really part of Holy Family, but a lot of the people that make deliveries to Core, FedEx, UPS, even personnel pick up and drop off, they'll usually just pull up there on the curb. Holy Family has been allowing them to use our loading dock area. They'll pull into the loading dock area so that they're off of the street. If they have parcels to load, unload, people to load and unload, they're usually not there very long.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, looking at it, I'm familiar with that. My wife also works at Holy Family as well and parks in that lot, and that lot's always got, I don't think I've ever seen it at full capacity.
Yeah.
Every time I've been there because of having to pick something up from a vehicle or whatnot. And then, yeah, like with that being a loading dock right there. I'm surprised you guys haven't had an issue at that point like that. Those pictures that you had, like, that's pretty close call. You know, granted, they're professional drivers, so they're used to that, but that's still, if you can prevent an accident, you know, and then on top of that, you got that crosswalk that's right there as well. So, I mean, that's a pedestrian area where you could have an issue too. So I'd be in support of the no parking in that area.
Yeah, 99% of those 6 cars that park there are usually Holy Family employees during first shift, so usually about 3 to 4 o'clock. Most of those are gone until the following morning usually.
Sure.
Anyone else? Does our city engineer have anything to chime in?
I'm supportive of it, I guess, because both those streets are narrower than our normal streets, and that's why there's already no parking on the one side of each one. Certainly coming out of Meadow Lane, 'cause I've gotten other complaints from people on, what's the other little one here? Liberty Place, from some of the neighbors there that are saying semi-trucks are using that street, so I don't know if there's like cars here that then they go out that way, or if they're just lost, but I think anything we can do to help them get back out on the Meadow Lane and out of that neighborhood, probably the better. I thought about the 4 that are here. Only problem if you keep that, then you still can't see the crosswalk. Granted, there's not a lot of traffic on Riverview Drive, but that's certainly a site obstruction from those guys too. So, and is that partly where they back into? I didn't
Yes.
get to look at
Yeah.
all your pictures,
The
I'm
picture
sorry.
that you have here, I'm not sure which one that would be.
That was one that I took, so it
Yeah,
wasn't one
the
of the,
semis would pull forward and then begin backing into. the
yeah,
loading
over
dock.
to here, yeah. So I don't know, I was supportive of it. I guess I
Okay.
didn't know.
Anybody in the audience? I think Amber, you spoke on it originally. Would you like to have a couple other comments, or do you feel it's going your way? And
It's just that a sign needs to be placed in front of the core treatment center that there's no parking on that side of the street. Because the only no parking on that side of the street is actually further down, more towards like the 130th, house on Riverview Drive. So you wouldn't even know that it's no parking there. And when I've had phone calls with the PD, they're like, well, there isn't a sign on public safety. You know, I've talked to the streets about like, where is the no parking signs? They've sent me emails. So it would be helpful that when you're placing no parking signage on the one side and the freighter is requesting, please also put a sign on the other side as well.
thank you. Looks like our city engineer made a note of that and is gonna spend $25 for another sign out there apparently.
I'll
So,
make a donation.
thank you very much. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll accept the motion to either approve or disapprove. And
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Cummings. And second by,
Did you forget my name?
no. I just keep forgetting to get all the dang E's in it. Second by Beeman to approve the no parking area. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Otherwise, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous. Yeah. Yep. I had the attorney mark all this, yeah.
What's that?
Okay, next item on the agenda is 260722. That happens to be a request to install stop signs at the intersection of South 22nd Street and Summit Street for northbound and southbound traffic on South 22nd Street. City engineer, you've got,
Yeah, I don't know if PD has anything else on, I know they had pulled the data and had at least 2 of the accidents anyway. The rollover that they spoke of and another one November of 25. one in October of 25 was something about unsafe backing, so there were a couple accidents there. I know we recently put up that one stop sign at 21st and Summit after that street got, pushed through, graded, and gravelled, so, looking at this one, I mean, you're gonna have accidents, usually that, like to see more than probably just these two, usually it's like 3 or more in a 3-year period, I think, but, the thing that I had noted was there's definite site obstruction on that southwest corner, and I don't think there's any issue with where they're at. They're out of the vision triangle. From what I can tell, they're 15, 20 feet back each way, so I don't think there's any, anything we can do about the arborvitaes that are there, so I guess there's others, I went through kind of our new policy and the different things on there. It is definitely a long stretch. Those are about 208 foot, 2 blocks that are 800 feet long each. You got Washington Middle School, that's not too far away, Rubick Field, Steinbecker Field, Emerodont Park. So you do have some, definitely, children in the neighborhood. I know we had that RFB put up at 23rd and Dewey. Traffic volume is probably not an issue. It's definitely still very low traffic volume, some crashes. Whether or not speeding is an issue, I'm not really sure. Be a PD thing, but I guess I was recommending probably putting a stop sign north-south, so on 22nd Street, running north and south, so that'll be opposite of 21st and Summit then. I guess is what I'm recommending if the committee so desires. Does anybody else have any comments or?
Can I ask what to explain what where the stop signs go? I didn't.
Northbound and southbound, so if you're on 22nd Street going southbound, you would have stop, or northbound.
Yes, that is exactly.
So, and I don't know if that's best way or not, but we just put it the other way on 21st and Summit, so I don't wanna have people stopping 2 blocks in a row, you kinda try to alternate, but,
Speeding, you mentioned speeding.
yeah.
The police don't see it because they're not there, but there's a lot of speeding. And we have a 4-year-old grandson who's often at home. There are other children in the neighborhood. That's scary.
Yeah, the only thing with, technically stop signs are used to, assign who has the right of way, and they are not supposed to be used for speed control. It will likely help with that in this case, but that is never our first reason, because that's, an enforcement issue, but due to the, if it wasn't for the site restriction, I don't know if I'd be recommending it, but between the other one that we just put up and having the site obstruction, I think it's probably worth having something there, so.
Ma'am, could you just give your
Let's get a
name,
mayor one.
name and address for the record, since you've kind of given to,
Mary Seiler, and my address is 2112 Summit Street.
thank you, just so we have a record of who said what, and so we knew who to blame years from now, Other than the mayor, he gets enough blame as it is, so. Any other questions or concerns? I don't have a problem. I know when I did the reading and the research, it kind of suggested I'll take a yield sign or a stop sign, but as you can tell, our engineer is saying, let's do the stop sign. Makes more sense to him, so I guess that's what we would be requesting if we're going to authorize something, would be the stop signs. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree with the recommendation of the stop sign. I mean, I understand that crash data isn't like overly comprehensive, but either way, you still look, what we did get, October of 25, and then so between October of 25 and then June of 26, you had 3 crashes. I mean, that shows there's an issue. So, I mean, having some, I'm not a fan of the yield signs. I live by a yield sign that nobody adheres to. So, the stop sign's obviously better. So at least trying that and then going from there, I think would work. And I'm glad it went through the policy, and we went from there. The only thing that I would just request, and just for discussion, because this is, I think, the first one since we had the policy, I wasn't really clear as far as going into the meeting what the full recommendation was gonna be, if we had one or not, at that point. So, I don't know if that's something that we can do in the future. Or,
Probably can. I guess that's where I think our attorney had said that, I guess, kind of up to the committee, but I guess that we could have put our recommendation, I suppose, that we supported it.
yeah, I mean, I saw the policy stuff, like we had it listed out, right? And then I was like, I was going into it thinking, yep, we're probably gonna put something there, but I wasn't sure, like, there was nothing like a clear,
Yeah, and
you know, which I get the discussion too. So I mean, it's just something that just, I guess, think about. I don't wanna get too off subject with that, but otherwise with this, I would support the recommendation.
we probably could or should, I guess, just looking for the committee to
Yeah,
decide or not try to overly, sway, sway you guys, but I could certainly support it, or I guess we could say that anyway.
yeah. I mean, cause I was just thinking like when we had all the stuff listed with the policy, like it fit. So then I was like, okay, you know, it fits because of this, you know what I mean? And then you go from there, and so, just my thoughts.
Is that a motion?
I'll make the motion to support the
Very-
recommendation.
Motion by Alder Cummings, second by Alder Beeman to authorize the installation of stop signs. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. It was unanimous. We approved it. Now, moving on to 260723, which is a request to prohibit parking on the east side of the roadway at the intersection of South 35th Street and Lindbergh Drive.
I don't know
I can
if
start.
Benzinger wants to speak on it first.
Sure. I brought this to committee. I was contacted back in May or June from a resident regarding concerns about the 45-degree bend on the road and difficulty navigating that when parking was full. I did reach out to staff, and they brought back some competing concerns, which were echoed by Mr. Walsdorf and Mr. Summers about speeding. The concern is that you remove traffic, you remove the parking and the cars go faster. Also, we checked the accident history. We saw none that were directly related to that particular part of the road. I did reach back out to the resident, explain this, talk through it, and the resident stated the desire to have this brought to the committee, but also wished not to be identified in doing so. So I said, all right, I will bring it, state the concerns, and decide what to do there. I did bring along a couple of pictures because the ones in the attachments got cut off. So for no other reason than that, if anybody would like to look at them, send those down. So the concerns as stated with the resident was the extra lateral width required from the vehicles when going around the corner would cause traffic from both directions to push towards the center line, potentially resulting in an oncoming situation. However, city staff stated that the road was very wide compared to some others, 36 feet, I believe. And additionally, it can result in a very short line of sight when traffic is parked along the roads. I've driven through there a few times myself, made it through safely. When it's clear, it's all clear. And when it isn't, you do have to slow down a little, but as we did talk about the speeding. So that's about all I have to add on that.
City engineer, any other information we need to know other than the road's 36 feet wide?
It's certainly a tight curve, that's for sure, and I guess, I don't know if there's always, cars on both sides, or if you could measure, what kind of clear is between them, but I don't know if there's really no accident history and a very low volume neighborhood like this, and agree with them for sure. You pull parking, it's just gonna promote people to come faster around that curve,
There-
so I'm not sure that's a healthy situation. The only
were-
thing I thought of today, when I went through it again, was, do we kind of paint the double yellow center line just to help guide where you should be or where the center line is, so that, doesn't mean you're gonna stay on your side or not, but at least it would define where the center of the road is, was a thought, would be something relatively cheap to do.
My understanding, if I remember correctly, there were 2 accidents, one this year, one last year. And none of them had to do with problems because of the parking. I mean, somebody hit the stop sign or something, and somebody hit something else, oblivious of who was parked where. The other thing I noted is, like I had asked you, what's the width? And you said 36 feet. The average width of a vehicle is 5.8 feet. So let's say it's 6. Technically, you should be able to put 6 cars side by side. Now, there wouldn't be much room between them, if any, but you could put them there without doing damage. And so you've got 2 cars and 2 cars, that's 24. Well, 24 wide on a 36 wide street, what's the problem? The other thing I'll admit is I went out there on Sunday, last Sunday, I believe it was. Whoever lives in the corner house, as you face north, that corner house over there was having a garage sale. And his garage sale kind of led into the next house with garage sale. And I'll tell you what, from the corner to all the way around that first bend, there were cars parked on both sides for that garage sale. And I had no problem driving through there. I turned around, I parked at the end so I could just sit and watch for a while. Nobody had problems going through there. They had to go slow. If there wasn't somebody coming at you, yes, everybody was driving in the middle of the street or even on the wrong side of the road if there was nobody coming at them. So maybe, putting a middle stripe might help things, but I could not find why that should be a problem. I think, as you mentioned one time too, that with the parking like that, people slow down. And if you recall some of the stuff tonight, there were areas where people are going too fast, not necessarily referring to this particular street, but a couple other ones. Well, yeah, we want them slow. So I don't know. I certainly couldn't approve no parking. And I think we've heard from one of the neighbors now, but having heard what I said and to be a man of my word, is there's anybody here in the public that's here that has something to say yet? Yes, sir.
But I do agree with what you brought up, the double yellow line. Do I think we need it? No, but I definitely think it would help, and maybe that would give the people, the speeders, people are gonna speed, maybe they'll keep on their side of the road. And, like I said, it's not a busy intersection, or Lindbergh is a quiet neighborhood. I don't see the need to have a no parking. Especially when you state it with adequate space.
Anyone else? No, okay, Alder Cummings.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Yeah, I definitely echo what Alder Reckerberg said for the comments with that. In my district, I have 2 roads that had like a curve that we had accident history on. And on both of those cases, we painted the yellow line, the center stripe, and then, now, I don't know if you need this as well, but we had the three sticks around the curve just to go and show that there's a curve coming up. And then literally that took away the whole way. We haven't had an accident in those areas since. And so when I look at the accident history from here, both of them were inattentive driving. So which obviously, it's not necessarily because of sight lines, it's literally they weren't paying attention and failed to negotiate a curve, right? Or whatever, however that ended up happening. So I would be in support of painting a center stripe, but not having a no parking. Or anything else you would need for.
Yeah, I think this one's a different situation than the one you're speaking of, that I don't think we would need.
Yeah, which I
Those
wouldn't think that would
delineators
apply
or a
either,
curb
but
sign.
Yep,
at this time anyway.
but I think, like I said, something to help with the in and out of driving, because that's still 2 of them in a year, essentially. So. It says
Oh,
600 South 35th and South 35th Street, Middle Lane. Both,
Right, I believe one of them was struck a sign on the median, so that could only be on the other side of Meadow, correct?
okay,
Yeah. Correct, it's not related
Okay.
to this side of the road.
gotcha. I was just going off on the report. Yep.
Anything else? Otherwise, I'll accept the motion. It sounds like you may have made the motion.
I can
to-
officially,
To deny the request for the no parking, but we will put a stripe in the middle of the road.
correct.
Yeah, good. I wrote it down right then for a change. Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All those in,
I think we need a second officially.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Second by Beaman. That's right, I did. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous. Okay, item 260724. Budget and request of the mayor.
Thank you. I've been going to every single standing committee just to talk individually with each committee about if they have any requests or questions about the budget. So specifically here would be for public safety, so police and fire, if there's anything you'd like to talk about or ask about, just high level. So I did send out a budget memo to the chairs of the standing committees as well as every department head, just outlining guidelines and kind of how to expect going into the 2027 budget. So Alders Cummings and Reckelberg would have definitely seen those, that memo. But basically, budget is looking tight. It's not grim, but I did say to the department heads that we're not looking at adding any positions next year. The goal is to retain what we have, a review of every position to see if there could be some efficiencies. So there may be maybe added positions, but it would be coming from efficiencies that we find elsewhere. But it's really to retain our current workforce and to ensure that we're giving them a salary and benefits that are competitive and appropriate for each department. And so, again, I've just been going to every committee. You're my 4th committee, so some of you may have seen me already. Last one is Parks and Rec. So if there's anything that you would like to share with me or questions that you have of the budget, I just want to give this opportunity to you now. And of course, the chiefs are here.
I was gonna say, we have the
there's
chiefs here. Would
anything-
you like to step up to the table, or would you like to run away and not admit to anything?
Well, I will just note to, their defense, if they don't want to say anything, budgets are due to me by the end of the month here, so they're compiling them still. They just know, the guidelines, basically, of the parameters that they have while they're compiling the budget. But they're due at the end of the month. We'll meet in September with each department, one-on-one, and then you'll have the budget in October.
And this is a unusual situation, because it is the mayor's budget, and I have no doubt that the police chief and the fire chief are gonna request certain things, and certain things are not gonna make the mayor's budget. And I would like to know what does and what doesn't, because we have the final say. Unfortunately, the final say may mean we have to raise taxes if we say, the mayor said no and we want to say yes, so you got to be prepared to maybe take the hit that you're raising taxes more or whatever. So with that having been said, can you share with us what has been requested and what probably is going to make your budget? And I know, not that we're going to hold you to it, because you're going to have to see everybody's number before you maybe give the 100% approval, but what has I'm gonna ask you, Mayor, I guess, because you know what they've requested, and you can say, I'm leaning towards this or I'm not, I guess, if you could do that.
Well, I can't, because I don't know what they have requested yet, because their budgets are due to me by the end of the month.
Okay.
So they're still working on them, so I don't know exactly what they're going to be asking for. I mean, they know that, you know, that it's not gonna be
Well, then
just,
I'll ask them, what
Yeah,
are you
there you
asking
go.
for that you don't know whether it's gonna make it or not yet? But what is on your hot list that, boy, we really need this to function properly? If you would, please.
Sure. For the fire department, there'll probably be some things I would like to request, just because, I have to advocate for what I feel as the fire chief is what we need to protect the city and what our industry standards, things like that. As far as operational costs, I'm looking at, status quo, and I'll say probably, it's in the operating is some personnel that, it's kind of I don't know if you'll have questions for me, but I'd have to explain is that we have a battalion chief on every day. That'll be one thing that, I'll be requesting. And I have, again, it kind of comes down to, that's where meeting with, the mayor and finance director, I have a plan laid out and things like that, all the details, and that's where that would be. But that's probably one of my number one things. Otherwise, I will have to say my predecessor, retired Chief Blazer, since he became chief and the times we were in, has kept everything very, very lean. And because of that, our department has operated lean, and there just isn't a lot of room to make cuts. So I'm gonna be looking at least a status quo from last year. We found some things to move around like that, but that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, but moving it from your budget to the mayor probably won't, the mayor's budget won't work.
maybe that's how you get it done.
Yeah.
It's-
I will just add on, so for like with Chief Kranek, part of the conversation, the big picture that probably won't happen in 2027, but will be the station configuration. You're gonna officially get a study, completed study soon here with station configuration and how that should look. So, you know, part of the budget conversations this year was we put money in for the study. Now, how do we implement it? And it won't be a one-year fix, because
No.
that's gonna be a very expensive proposition. But, you know, part of the conversation will be that. And, you know, also if, with Chief Musial about station and needs for their growth too. So, you know, that's one thing that we budgeted in the past that some of you may not know because you weren't here. That'll come up. Same thing with like the fire engine. You know, we budgeted for 4 years of the ladder truck, I think.
Yeah.
This might be our last year, or we had our last year. But we won't have it for, you know, a couple of years here yet, or a year or so at least yet. So those are the things that I would like to make sure that the newer council members are aware of, that things we budgeted for in the past, we don't want to just forget about them. This study is going to be very important, and we should make sure we're allocating resources every year, and not just let it sit on the shelf.
And I'll just make one quick comment on that, as we move closer, that study's getting close to being completed and being involved in that. I think one thing that needs to be understood is that study is the premise for a strategic plan. So this is not a quick fix, a one-year fix, anything like that. And I think we're gonna have to have some probably tough and spirited conversations about how we want as a city to move forward with some of those recommendations in order to provide our citizens with protection that they expect and deserve. So it's gonna be a challenge, but I think it's a good basis for that, so.
Yeah, the police department, we're pretty status quo. We left, we had a position and a half that we are not gonna fill through attrition. So there's some savings for the city on that. We distributed responsibilities. So that's gonna be a change in '27. I guess the biggest expense that I can think of is gonna be our taser request. We've been doing some research on replacing our tasers. They are well beyond their life expectancy. They're actually failing. Taser will not replace them. They're sold or repair them. And we have, I believe, 2 spares left. Taser made the example or the analogy that our tasers are essentially a vehicle with 300,000 miles on it. That it's great that they're still working, but they're failing. And when a taser fails, it does turn into a liability. So it's extremely important that we figure out how to purchase those. I've been dealing with finance, and we're looking at some options on how to handle that going forward. But we're still kind of in the middle of it.
That's a big ticket item, believe it or not, correct? That was a couple
Yeah,
hundred thousand.
What's that?
That was a couple 100,000 for,
Several.
yeah.
Yep.
And so that's a good point, Chief, just whispered over to me. Capital requests are also a separate process that's going on right now. That's through COG. You may have heard Capital Allocation Work Group as well. So they rank out the capital requests as well in a separate process before it even gets to my desk too. So, and things like committee, recommendations score higher in those capital requests. So that's why we have these meetings too, just to see if there's anything now, because if there is something you would like to see, now is the time to let us know, because you still can make a change on the floor the Monday before Thanksgiving to change the budget, but usually it's very difficult to implement something, especially if it's a road project or, let's say tasers you wanted in at the last minute. That just would be tough to throw in there. So if there is something, now is the time.
Somewhere along the line, I had a conversation with the chief or somebody, and it had to do with, well, you can lease them.
That was me.
Yeah, and I said, make sure that Sean knows about leasing counts against your bonding numbers. And if you're going after being qualified money on your borrowing, you gotta add those in there, I had somebody
Yeah.
screw up rented a $200 copying machine on a lease, and it came close to screwing us up when we went to bond for 15 million.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's the conversations we have to have is this capital? Do we want to try and get it in the operating budget? Because the life of a taser is 7 years, but it can last 10, but you're borrowing, in this case, probably 10 for that. So you don't want to necessarily do that. We've been doing that over the year. The problem is if it's a one big expenditure in 1 year, that's different, where if you replace all the tasers, that's would be a little different. We've put into the operating budget for firearms and different things where we used to borrow because it was that one big expense. Police vehicles, we don't borrow for anymore. We have them in our regular rotation now. So we have to just determine, how much is to get 60 tasers, however, 60-some tasers,
65,
right?
yeah.
How much does that cost in one big soup? Or, do a couple of them live where you only have to get half this year, half next year, and we can then put it in our operational budget versus borrowing, which is what that's the first place we want to go to.
Depending upon where you are in your life cycle, you can borrow for some, pay for
Right,
some.
and that's what we have to
But when moving forward, you try to make a better plan going forward as opposed to, okay, I can live with it, we'll borrow for this, but we'll pay for that. But we'd like to pay for all of them or something like that someday. So like you said, 7 to 10 years, you start looking, well, okay, we're gonna put 5 or 10 in the budget.
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent, yes, super.
I figured you'd like that. That's the conservative way of doing it, isn't that?
Well, you do your best.
It's the correct way of doing it now. But it's just that first cost, that's gonna be the thing, that's gonna be the question, is if you have to replace them all, you may see a borrowed request, because that's the only way to make sure it does happen, but then be on a good replacement plan for every 4 years, you could get new ones if that's, or 5 or whatever it is, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my only 2 cents with the whole thing is, especially when you have, a potential tight budget, is like, obviously look at what your core thing is to operate, to function safely. Like, you don't want to put the city at risk. I mean, a taser is a huge thing. The thing would be a little disappointed in hearing with that is that we didn't have a maintenance plan already to, that we have to now all of a sudden, buy it all right away. Like, I think, I know it's on record, but like, I look at like the school district and the pickle they got in, right? We're all of a sudden here now, their maintenance plan clearly was not effective, which is why they got to where they're at, right? Like, I'd like to see that for all of our departments, we have a full-on, here's your end of life. We can already budget already, this is how we're gonna keep it going, so there's never we have to figure out how we're gonna do a big purchase when it's tight, because you don't know 7 years out, 10 years out what it's gonna look like. You can project all you want, but, economies go up and down and everything else, right? But at least if you have the consistent plan, then you're never in that situation, so.
Yep. I think we did it with radios now. We have a radio line we just talked about, so radios, we had a big expense a couple of years ago just because, well, the county switched frequencies were one, or something you can explain
Yeah,
better than I can,
it's the
but.
YCAN or whatever,
Yeah,
but we
so-
all had to.
Yeah, you're right, so things come up that you don't know, and we've just slowly, type items like this, like cop cars were always borrowed, which that's the only way we could pay for them, because we didn't have it in the general fund. We finally got them into the general fund, so, yeah.
Just one thing I gotta add about the tasers, the problem with ordering or buying several a year is an item like that, the technology is always changing.
Yep.
Cartridges are changing, batteries are changing, the way to download the software from the taser to the computer is changing. So we need to stay consistent, all our officers need to stay consistent with the same taser. So right now they're on 10. Let's say a year or two ago, they were on 7. So if we would've bought 7s are not compatible with 10. So that's kind of why we have to do the big lump sum. And I understand about preparing for it more, but we all need to be consistent as far as what we're carrying.
Yep, yeah, and I've been in law enforcement training for a while, so like I get the whole training, piece of it on top of that, and yeah.
I think a good example maybe for where you're headed to is like election equipment, so the actual voting equipment, We don't, it's very expensive when it happens and the technology changes and everything. So what we did instead of, thinking we're gonna buy a new one every year is we just budget $20,000 a year, roll it over into the next year for that line item. So
Yep.
when year 4 comes, you're not buying one every year, but at least you have the money in year
It's
4.
there, correct.
It's there,
Yeah,
so.
it's in your pocket.
Same scenario probably with tasers.
Yep, yeah, that's kind of where I was,
Yep,
where I
got
was
it.
going with that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, because like, this is just personal talking, like, at some point, you can't raise, just, like, there is not an option, you can't raise taxes anymore, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're already taxed too much as a country. That's just my own personal thing, but, so.
Correct.
That's all I got.
Anybody else have anything? that
Okay,
they'd like
yep,
to-
anybody else? Otherwise, thank you, Mayor.
Nope, thank you all, appreciate it.
And I think you gentlemen got through this risk-free. I don't think you need to expect a phone call tomorrow morning when you get to the office, going report to the mayor's
you.
office.
That's
But,
good. If you have any
Sounds-
questions, let me know.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
thank you so much. Okay, there's no action on that item. We had our discussion. The next item on the agenda is I'm sorry. Oh. Yeah, 260725, which is the ambulance service agreement between Roncalli High School and the City of Manitowoc Fire Rescue. Chief, if you wanna. Sure. I'm sure there'll be some questions. Anybody have any questions or comments?
No, I personally think the next two are pretty self-explanatory, I mean, when you read it. So I make a motion to go and approve.
There's a motion and a second to approve the service agreement. I have a question, I guess, and that is, I noticed, if I find it, I made a note. It's under item 6C. It says events canceled less than 2 hours prior to the scheduled start time will be charged a minimum of 2 hours. The problem is, in the agreement, I cannot find out what the so-called hourly charge is. And when I checked with our attorney, he says, well, when you approve all the fines, fees, and forfeitures, that wasn't one of the items on that big list. So what are we gonna charge him, and do we need to get that in
In-
something, you know what I mean?
into the agreement. I believe, if my memory serves correctly, and I can find out for sure, obviously, is I believe it's $100 an hour we charge. These two contracts are for the football standby. So both Lincoln and Roncalli, when they have a home game at Rubik Field, request an ambulance. And these are the two contracts for us saying we'll be there for sure. I believe they charge it's 100 or 110 an hour to cover the two members that are there for those 2 hours.
Okay.
Yep,
I
Yep.
got no problem with
Yep.
that. The problem is what
In the
authorizes
contract,
you to
yeah.
charge the 110. I would ask that the attorney, and then, of course, I'm sure you gotta go back to the Lincoln and Roncalli or whoever and say, oh, by the way, we put that rate in the contract because it didn't exist before. But
Yes, if we were to alter for this to be approved, then yes, we'd need to go back and get those, because it's a contract.
yeah, I would ask that the city attorney review this contract, and if he would insert under item 6C, either add to that particular item or put one right after that that says it's, you know, the hourly rate is $100 or
The fee.
110. And then go through whatever authorization they have to do at the schools. But, I mean, they're gonna agree to something where they didn't know what it was anyway, and you were gonna charge them that, you know, so, I mean, I don't think they're gonna have a problem with it, but I'd like to see that we've got some place to point to that says, well,
Sure.
that's the hourly rate, you know, I mean, otherwise, you
Sure.
could be like some shyster attorney and go, well, it's 500 an hour, you know?
Sure. So the fee that we charge is the same we've been charged. I'll just tell you, the
Yeah.
same we've been charging for the last
Right. I
however,
just wanna
5 years.
see it
Sure.
documented.
So then would you like that in these agreements before they're passed tonight, or?
I think we could approve them with the modification, and then we could sign them at city council or what, you know, before the city council. But, you know, why hold it up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, with having a kid on Lincoln, next week already is their first game. This week is, you know, they got a scrimmage in Green Bay Southwest. And then the following week, right after that's their first game. So like, you know, Roncalli, without knowing their schedule, I'm sure they're right there as well. So I don't know if we can hold it up without a signed agreement, without them getting services for a technicality. So, but I could certainly make a motion to go and approve it with that pen and inked.
There's a motion, and but
Just so you have a heads up, these have already been signed by the mayor and clerk and also the schools. So-
Correct.
Yeah.
But like I said, they don't know what they would be charged per hour, other than he's gonna go back to the office and say, well, they didn't cancel in 2 hours, charge them 100 or 110. All we're asking for is, it's documented. And the attorney said the same thing, it should be documented, so. If they gotta re-sign it, they re-sign it. If they don't want to, well, then they don't, and they're not gonna get coverage. And I don't think they want that. All I know is I don't care where you go on a Friday night, you always see a rescue squad somewhere, it's on football field, and you know the high school is playing, you know, I mean. So, you know. I've got a motion and a second to add that 100, well, whatever the chief says
Yeah,
it is, finds out that would be added under that so that it's documented, so that we've got some place to point to that says that's what the charge is. Like I said, I had talked with our city attorney, and he goes, yeah, that's a good point. We don't have it documented anywhere, so. With that said, all those in favor of the motion to add that, aye?
Aye.
Nay? Unanimous. And we also have the 260726, which has the same dilemma.
Yes, it's the exact same, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make the same motion to add the addendum to it.
Okay, I've got a motion second. Everybody understands that, I'm assuming, and nobody's got a question, therefore I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous. I think we ran out of items. We've got a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Go ahead. We're adjourned.